when so that response, I get it. That's the response because you've identified with your team and you've adopted some aesthetic or trait or mode of communication that harmonizes with your team. And there's some energy investment in that. You've either been red pilled, you've gone down the rabbit hole, and you've constructed an identity that is made up of all of these ideas that represent your team. And that takes some work. Now, to be infiltrated by the other team via data could not just lead to all the work you put into assembling your costume going out the window, but it could also lead to cognitive dissonance, meaning you no longer are perfectly harmonizing with the idiot Macarena you're doing on your side of the fence. So you're going to be out of step a little bit.
Wait, what would an example of that be? It being infiltrated by data.
So an example of being infiltrated by data, let me think. So on the left, let's start there. So let's see. On the left, what we saw, they whether they like it or not, they just got sledgehammered by data, which is it's red now. Everything's red. The entire country that they thought was aligning with their particular set of ideas does not align with their set of ideas. Now they have been infiltrated with that data, and that's a tough pill to swallow. They literally got a red pill. The entire country is now red, and they had to swallow that pill.
No, it's insane. They lost the president, they lost the executive, they lost the Supreme Court, they lost both branches of Congress, and they've lost social media, and they've lost the culture, which in the 60s, they did the long march through the institutions where the plan was to get power in the culture and in academia.
Yeah,
now they don't even have that,
and they worked real hard to do that.
Yeah,
and they did a good job. And for a while, aligning yourself with conservatism was the least cool fucking thing you could do. Put a gun in your mouth. Are you fucking crazy? And so what happened is on the right, they recognized the efficacy of infiltrating the culture, and they did it better. And so now there's a shift where if you align with the left, you're no longer cool.
You think so?
Well, for sure.
Yeah.
You
don't think that's just within like the kind of like our social sphere? I mean, we're in Texas, podcasting, things like that. I mean, I'm sure if we were still in LA, it might be different.
I am so terrified of the filter bubble because it makes you irrelevant that when the elections were happening and because I come on the road all the time and meet people all over the place, not just fans, people. And I know that is not a representative. What do they call it? That's not is it a cohort? Whatever, like subjective interactions I have, obviously that is not good data if you're going to analyze the sort of national mood.
Well, here's the thing, right? And I don't want to move away from that, but just to add to what you were saying, you were talking about being infiltrated by data. I think that what happened is the Democratic Party is largely the party of social engineering, neurolinguistic programming, data analysis. And I think that they did the Nate Silver thing again, where they just looked at all this data and thought that they could socially engineer an outcome based on whatever data they're getting from Facebook and things like, their data mining operations. And when, somebody put out the spend on Kamala's campaign, and it's just a whole lot of like data analysis and hiring celebrities and things like that. But the reality is that, you can fool some people some of the time, and you can fool, but you can't fool everyone all the time. And at the core, I think there is a fundamental American character. We like freedom. We don't like being told what to do. We like playing with our kids and drinking beer in our houses. We don't like being...
We don't like being corrected.
Right. And I think that at the end of the day, that really it's just nobody was buying what they were selling.
Well, yeah, and the other problem I think,
So just my final point is, so when you're saying you're going out and meeting people, I think that's more valid than like you're looking at a data
it
spread.
felt valid to me, but also because I'm in Texas, because I am as susceptible as anybody to getting sucked into some kind of bullshit thing that is parading as default reality, but it's a distortion. When I like, what I was telling my wife, Trump's gonna win. Like they're not gonna win. Like also, I had been following very closely the way that the DNC or the Harris campaign had been astroturfing.
Mm-hmm.
So I knew that like I started recognizing linguistic patterns in comment sections. That,
oh, like what? Like what?
Well, it's a so the it seems like the strategy is within so an idea emerges that's antithetical to your campaign, whatever it may be, and maybe that idea is actually valid, but instead of addressing that idea as invalid in the comments section, you hijack it with a new idea that pushes the discourse away from the fundamental idea.
Yeah. Thread hijacking.
It's brilliant.
Yeah.
And but
that's an intelligence agency thing that came out of Intel. I've seen papers on that from GCHQ and things like that.
It's so smart.
Yeah.
And it fucks up. It's essentially like you go to the beehive and you put smoke under the beehive and it slows the bees down. Yeah. It's some version of doing that. You're smoking out the beehive so that you're fucking up the function of collaborative reasoning. And then in that, maybe that fogginess, confusion emerges. And in the confusion, people become less interested in knowledge and more interested in belief, charisma, and that's on both sides.
Right. Well, now all this is probably automated with AI. I'm sure you get troll comments that are clearly from bots and things like that. One of the things I always do, I'll get a comment that sounds like it's somebody reacting to what I've said, and often they can even have personal information about me, but it sounds slightly off. And then I'll just start asking it GPT prompts, and it'll come out with different things.
There you go. There you go. This my first taste of this was ages ago. Beto O'Rourke is running for.
Did you say beta?
Beta.
Beta O'Rourke.
Yeah. Beta O'Rourke.
Beta.
So, and as someone in that time living in Los Angeles, I did what now I would use is somewhat unforgivable. Which is like I sort of glowingly retweeted some speech he was giving.
Wait! I think we were. I remember this. I think we were high one time, and you were on ketamine. And you were going on about Beto O'Rourke.
Yeah.
But you were talking. This was like what, 5 years ago. You were talking about how he was being like injected into people's consciousness.
Well, yeah, that was happening because he definitely had these characteristics that I think the DNC was looking at. I was like, is that a president? And is he going to make Texas blue? And, at the time living in the filter bubble of LA, he appealed to me, but I wasn't really sold. He seemed a little salesman-y or something, but I liked something he said. I don't remember what. And I retweeted it. Jesus Christ. Like, why the fuck is someone living in Los Angeles getting involved in Texas politics? It's like truly satanic, truly dark. But regardless, a flurry of instantaneous comments. That's signal one. If you're getting like an immediate, instantaneous, well thought out response that seems cut and pasted, that's a signal that you are either engaging with a bot or just someone who's working in a call center.
Well, they used to have that thing called correct the record, which is just, if you remember that during the 2016 where Hillary just had this huge bank of people being paid like pennies a post to just go and post stuff on people's pages. Now I think it's all AI.
I think it's people too.
Okay. And there's a lot of people that are clearly, there's also like meme accounts on both sides where you look, or for various foreign governments, so you look at it, and it's clearly people in a call center in India.
Well, yeah, 100%, because you can always tell if you go back on their X thread, Blue Skies thread, whatever the fuck you're using, go and look at how much they're posting. And you will realize they don't sleep.
Right.
They're posting on a 24-hour cycle. Somehow they don't sleep.
Right.
And so that's the sign that is a AI or a call center or someone just getting like chump change for posting shit. But this person used the term demagogue. And I thought that was interesting because you don't hear that word thrown around a lot online,
Mm.
right? And whatever. But then another person used the same word, and another person used the same word. And I'm like, wait,
Yeah, yeah,
there's
yeah.
no way 3 people in less than 10 minutes are using that word on Twitter. Bullshit. And then that's when I started looking into it and realized the obvious. If you have X number of followers, there's a little file on you that is in a data bank somewhere that probably can be used
Yeah,
by any of these call centers,
yeah.
so they can personalize their response in a way that makes you feel a little affectionate towards the person. In this
Right.
sense, this
I mean,
person,
this is trivial to do with code. You just read the person's tweets, and then you basically do you train an AI model on
there you
that,
go. So
more or less.
anyway, the point is, because of the signal jamming, because of the astroturfing, the filter bubbles get enforced. And I think the strategy there is you're thinking, and it's really fucked up. This particular strategy is so unethical. So the idea would be you want your candidate to win, not because of social pressure, but because whatever idea they're putting out there, whatever policy they're saying they're going to do is good, logical,
Right,
makes sense,
right,
rational.
right, right,
So if you're trying to wag the dog and get your candidate elected, not through policy, but through social pressure, particularly the basic human need to be in the majority, I
right,
don't
right,
want to be
right,
on the
right, right,
losing
right,
team,
right.
then you what you're doing in that case is very destructive because
It's totally destructive of the social fabric and of trust and of
yeah,
the social contract, period.
yeah,
And I think people are sick of it. And that's what we saw in the election. And I think America would have behaved the same way if the other side had been doing everything the Democrats had. So I don't even necessarily think it is about policy. I think people don't like being told what to do. And one of the things I wanted to talk to you about, and we were talking about this a bit on text, is, regardless of who won the election, it's clear to me the center of cultural power in America has not only shifted to podcasting and YouTube. It's like basically it wasn't just people didn't vote for Kamala. They rejected New York and Los Angeles. They rejected Hollywood. They don't give a shit that the Avengers, are for Kamala or whatever. And
no,
so if you think about it, Austin, in a way, is now the center of culture. Has at least certainly has the potential to be the center of cultural power in America.
well,
I think the stupidest thing that Kamala did was not go on Rogan. I think that's really obvious. It's just like that's like an election losing move.
yeah, that was a tremendous mistake.
It's
She
just
had people in her team that told her not to do it because they're offended by him, and
right,
because of that, she missed a chance. But that being said, I think the problem was that she was like many of the things like she's saying, like remove the personality, just look at the things she's saying, are very like basic sort of humanist values, equity, hope,
joy.
joy, compassion.
But they're hollow words. It's like Obama's change campaign. Change. What does that mean? It means something different to everyone. That's neurolinguistic programming. It's a
And
hypnotic word. It doesn't mean
well,
anything.
and this is the issue. This is where I think it gets really when like words that are precious words that have lots of meaning and are meant to be tools through which to articulate a way for people to subjectively reduce their suffering via, you know, cultivating compassion for themselves and then naturally, spontaneously that emerges in the world. But basically, like, you, okay, so you know that story. You probably tell it better than I can. Post enlightenment. They encounter the Buddha. Some people encounter the Buddha. I think they became his followers. And he was glowing, that post enlightenment glow. And they were so astounded by it, whatever this person was. They said, Are, are you a saint? No. Are you a god? No. Well, then what are you? I'm awake. And so
Right.
this awakening turned into woke. They took.
Which is it's a complete well, it's the actually the it's that's to talk about satanic because part of the essence of Buddhist enlightenment is understanding that you are not your story, you're not your body, you're not your mind. And it's like the to turn it around and make it total self-identification.
Yeah. It's dark.
It's dark. But that said, I mean, like, I will actually put a flag up for the other side of that argument too, which is, you know, a really interesting period in history for me is all the consciousness raising, like at Esalen at the late end of the 60s and in the early 70s. And they got to this moment, you know, they're in hot tubs, all these, you know, boomer hippies are doing acid and having breakthroughs and realizing, I'm not my body, I'm not me, I'm transcendent, all that. And then it broke down when they invited Black Panthers to come and do the same thing with them, thinking that they would have a break, you know, they would, you know, be able to talk and have a breakthrough. And the reality was that at this time, this group of people, like Black people didn't want to be disidentified. You know, it's like as a professor, I had a professor named Louis Chu.
That's cool. That's a cool word. Disidentified.
And he pointed out that it's like, you know, one of the reasons why there's a genre of music called soul music is under slavery, it was considered that Black people didn't have souls. Right, like that was a literal thing. So it's like when you tell somebody then who has fought, you know, with real fighting and struggle and violence, oh yeah, like, you know, you're not you like actually your identity that you fought for to be able to assert yourself, we're going to erase that now. Well, that feels a little different.
Well, sure. And there you go, because this is right there, that place right there, wherever it shows up. This is where you go off the path, because the moment you have that agenda, when you're around anybody to fix them, what's implicit in the agenda is an assessment that they're broken. So now I'm interacting with a broken person who I'm trying to fix. That person does not think they're broken. That person thinks they fixed themselves.
By the way, this is why I'm so abrasive in my teaching style. It's like, oh, like, you know, fuck you. It's like, you did this to yourself. What are you going to do about it? You know, it's like, I don't care. It's like, well, it's not even that. It's not even you did this to yourself. It's just like, there's nothing wrong with you. It's like you're dying on the street of fentanyl. Like, okay, how's that working out for you?
And
you know?
that...
It's not my life. It's your life, right?
Now...
Who am I to say that that's not what's right for you?
You're giving voice to one of the things you are not supposed to say. And that's a good thing you're not supposed to say, because now you're getting back on, you're harmonizing with what the Dharma in that case. Now, when I see someone on the street dying, if I see anyone dying, I don't care who the fuck they are. If I'm watching the post-Nuremberg Nazis get hung, there is a spark of compassion. You look at the karmic situation, you look at the person, and you feel something regardless of the destruction they sowed in the world. And so this is not to say become a sociopath, but
I'll counter that though, which is if you want to play the bad guy, you have to accept the fate of the bad guy. So I don't feel sorry for.
Well, I can't come when I'm watching the Nuremberg hangings if I don't do that. Like, okay.
Are you choking yourself with a belt while you're?
Oh yeah, baby. But the what I'm saying is if the initial contact with the other is to identify a thing that needs to be fixed, if the agenda...
This is foul. It's like, well, it's just shitty, like, you know, like school teacher, like church lady, like fucking Puritan energy. It just sucks. Nobody likes that.
And it doesn't work.
Nobody wants... If I go to the doctor, I don't, even in that situation, I don't want the doctor to feel sorry for me. I just want them to do the thing that I'm asking for. Like, that's it. And don't give me the runaround, you know, don't be like...
So,
you know,
I'm driving up here to do the podcast. I'm happy. I'm going to get to hang out with Jason. Because when I hang out with you, I feel good.
Me too.
And you know, I can hang out with you and we can not talk about anything metaphysical, mystical, Buddhist, and I feel good. And the reason that is because you have done work on yourself and you feel, I'm not saying any of us are perfect, but it's
because of my perfect glowing skin.
It is your skin. Yeah. You have a great skincare regimen. But you know, this this is a very frustrating situation to find oneself in, which is number one, you look out in the world and you have a legitimate, very good, built in desire to ease suffering in the world. You really want to do that. Most people do, left, right. Now, where it gets frustrating is it is so much easier to fix other people or to try to fix other people than to work on yourself.
Oh, hello there. Today's sponsor is me. I don't have corporate sponsors, never have, probably never will. This video is brought to you by the new version of the Adept Initiative I and II. Yes, we are launching an incredible experience that's going to go for the first 4 months of 2025. We're going to form an incredible magical community and learn the secrets of magic and yoga and everything that you need to master not just the physical world, not just your body, your finances, your mind, but also the magical world. Everything you need to master the astral plane. We're going to be going into the Kabbalah, the Sephiroth, the paths, and not just intellectual learning, we're going to do it. We're going to trip the like fantastic and go through the entire magical universe together in real time. It's going to be great. Check it out. The page is up. It's adept.magick.me. It's a completely new version, adept.magick.me. Please join us, and I will see you in class.
Yes.
Dive into the dark.
You know, the other thing too, and you get this if you're hanging out in the New Age, you know, meditation community, spiritual community, whatever. The really insidious thing that people do also is, you know, people will go to one workshop and then decide they're a healer. And then what they'll do is, and they're completely on their own, you know, fucked up trip that they're on, but then people will project their damage onto other people, be like, oh, I can heal this for you. I try to heal it on the other person. It's really sick.
It's sick.
And like people are just like, you know, sharing pathologies, passing them around.
And that is the end result of that mode of altruism in the world is, in general, it has very little impact. But if it does have impact, the impact is not to create a better world, but rather to make people throw their defenses up and bare their teeth. And then that creates more aggression in the world, because if you go into the world as an aggressive altruist, then what you will receive from the world is aggression back.
Right.
And so the motivation, good. The means of reaching the goal. So they say it's we want progress, progressiveness. And this is a lot of the ideas proposed by the left are good, beautiful, utopian visions of a perfect world. Really delightful, man. I'm saying if we look at them not as top-down, authoritarian, regulated, enforced language, blah, 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 but rather, let's just go through all of the catchphrases on the left. Inclusivity. Wonderful, 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 wonderful. I don't want division. I don't want there to be a fracturing fractal of micro cults fighting each other. Inclusivity. Wonderful. Equity. I mean, yeah. I mean, if we look at the very definition of it.
Depends what you mean by it. But
I mean, yin yang. I'm saying that the thing that creates universal balance, this perfect balancing of polarities, there is equity there. Good, balance, equal, balance. I'm saying balance. And how do we get balance? You like that, the drive towards balance, good. Inclusivity, equity. What are some other catchphrases?
Man, I tried to tune it all out now.
Don't. I'm telling you, man, I try to absorb both sides as much as I can to try to find the connective tissue.
Okay.
And the connective tissue between both sides is 100% a genuine desire for the world to be harmonious.
We're all humans, like everyone, well, most of us, but you know, people just differ in their approaches. But it's you know, you were talking about the parties as memeplexes. Look, I grew up in Southern California in an ultra liberal family. I'm an occult anarchist. I was pretty about as left wing as you can possibly get. And, I protested the Iraq War in New York and London. Like, I was involved in the anti-war movement all throughout my 20s. And when I was growing up, it's just the words are the same, but the whole memeplexes have now shifted. And this apparently is normal. The parties kind of reverse every 36 years. But
pole shift.
When I was growing up, being a Democrat meant being for working class and poor people,
absolutely,
being against war, being for consumer protections like Ralph Nader's seatbelt initiative, being anti-censorship. If you remember, all the stuff with Frank Zappa in the 80s, and now all of that has somehow, the data that's coming out of this election, the class thing has completely shifted, where now the Democrats are the party of rich elites and Republicans are the opposite, which was completely different during the Bob Dole campaign. It's completely shifted.
Yeah.
The racial, so-called minorities, which are not minorities anymore, are now voting red, which, I don't know if you noticed all the anti-Hispanic racism coming out of left-wing people on Twitter.
That was a very strange thing.
That was insane. It's like, wait a minute, isn't this why you were anti-Trump? Because he was saying, all these things about Mexico and Mexicans. It's like, wait, but now you're going to be openly, flagrantly racist to Latinos because now they're off here.
They're misogynist.
That was pretty shocking.
Suddenly the catchphrase was Latinos are misogynists. And yeah, that was shocking, but it honestly not that shocking when you realize the political system, it uses people. It doesn't care about the individual. The political system identifies a potential ally, exploits the ally, and the moment the ally is no longer useful to the machine, the ally is cast aside.
It's disgusting. But now everyone can see it,
and that's
in
good.
real time.
That's good. And this is also, the problem is these beliefs you add and have.
Yeah, I haven't changed my political positions. It's just like the world is chaos right now.
Well, no, what all that happened is that just because somebody revised the dictionary and changed the meanings of certain words doesn't mean the fundamental rationale behind some approach to living in the world that would change too. And this seems to be the great magic trick, is that somehow there seems to be this very strange belief that if we redefine certain words to fit into a political agenda, that the people who adhered to the ideas that those words expressed will shift their behavior to match the new definition.
Right.
And that is such an illogical, insane fallacy. And that is where, if you want to do the analysis, that's where they fucked up.
Yeah.
It didn't work. Yeah. No one changed. No one realigned.
Because they're moving. It's because they're looking at people as data on spreadsheets to be moved around. And that's not what people are.
Pure dehumanization of people based on, and also, and the really ironic thing is, I think the DNC, the creators of the filter bubble, got trapped in their own fucking filter bubble. Yeah. And the rules that they were attempting to get everyone to adhere to, no one was adhering to them, but they had to keep following those rules, meaning that discourse within the thing itself, suddenly they couldn't say out loud certain things, certain critiques of what was happening. And because they couldn't say it out loud, there was no ability to course correct. And because of that lack of ability to course correct, the entire country is red.